What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of PolyFamily Season 1, Episodes 5 and 6. They gave us 2 episodes back to back. So by 11 p.m. Central Standard Time, I was tired. I was polyfamilied out. There was no way I was going to turn on this camera and do a video that late. So this is the season finale. We are done with season 1. I don't know about season 2. I don't know if they're going to have a season 2. I have a very strong feeling that they're going to have a season 2 because they kind of left us um, I think they kind of left us with a cliffhanger. So I do predict a season 2. So let's get into it. So the episode starts off with them talking about the two men have gotten vasectomies. The two husbands, Tyler and Sean, have both gotten vasectomies because as a collective, the quad decided that Quentin was going to be the very last baby that they were going to have collectively. And so the two men have already gotten their vasectomies done and over with. The only issue now is to make sure that Sean's vasectomy has stuck, okay, that he is not producing active swimmers. After that, we have a scene where Alicia and Sean have a date night. They go to a painting class instead of into the boom boom room like Tyler and Taya. So they take a painting class. They didn't have anything going on, I'm assuming, after the painting class. It was go to the painting class, drink some wine, and go right back home. Their date was very different from Tyler and Taya from TNT. So I thought that was really interesting because they're struggling with their intimacy, Alicia and Sean. They're struggling big time. It seems like Sean is just not interested in Alicia, or Alicia isn't willing to make any type of move to make things happen between them, but their intimacy is very, very dry. So I would have thought that they would have done something to kind of bring the romance back, to kind of get things started again. But no, they decided to just do a painting class and go back home. So Sean tells Alicia that during Taya and Tyler's date night, that his wife Taya had reached out to him to let him know that she was really struggling with her body image issue after just having a baby, not feeling like herself. Her hormones are out of whack. She doesn't feel comfortable with her postpartum body. So she had texted, I guess, her husband to let him know what she was struggling with. And Alicia says that she wishes that she and Sean were as close as Sean is with his wife Taya, which I thought was very interesting for her to say that because, of course, Sean and Taya are going to be super close because they're husband and wife. They're going to share things with each other that I'm assuming that they wouldn't want to share with the other two. So for Alicia to feel like, well, how come, me and you don't have that type of confidence between us? And I'm just like, girl, I don't what they're husband and wife. So they've been married for a while. Their husband, like, I don't understand why Alicia felt some type of way about that. Like, why couldn't she understand that yes, Sean and Taya are going to have a different relationship than her and Sean, because her and Sean are just boyfriend and girlfriend. So, because of Alicia's boundaries, how she has her boundaries about she doesn't want to hear about what anybody else does in the bedroom. She doesn't want to hear it at all. So, because of her boundaries, when it comes to discussing intimacy, Sean does feel like that they're not as close as they could be. So, this is what he says in his confessional. Because Alicia doesn't want to talk about certain things and, she's got her little boundaries, he feels like, I really can't confide in her the way that I would like to confide in her. So, for example, if him and Taya were struggling intimately, you know, he obviously wouldn't be able to talk to Alicia about that. Now, would it be proper for him to talk to Alicia about something like that? I don't know, because I don't know how these type of relationships work, these polyamory relationships. I don't know what's allowed and what's not allowed. And I know that it's different for each group or each dynamic. It's different. What applies for this quad may not apply for the a throuple, or may not apply for the next quad, or whatever. Everybody's different. I understand that. But I kind of understood where Sean was coming from, because Alicia, certain things are off limits with her. He feels like he can't really confide everything with her. So because Taya was struggling, feeling comfortable with Tyler, and she reaches out to her husband to talk about this, I'm pretty sure that if Alicia were struggling with anything sexually with Sean or with Tyler, she wouldn't talk about that with anybody because she has a hard and fast rule that she does not talk about those things at all. Well, maybe she'll talk about it with her own husband, but not with anybody else in the quad. So the boundaries are really hard for Sean to navigate through. Sean tells Alicia, I think it's really weird how you don't want to talk about intimacy. And the producers ask Sean and Alicia together, so how often do you guys have sex? And Sean said, well, we try to do it as often as we can. And Alicia steps in and she's like, no, we don't. That's not true. We don't try to do it as often as we can. Hell no. So that was kind of interesting as well that they have completely different interpretation of what their sex life is like. I really think that maybe Sean probably said that just to save face or just to be nice. He didn't want to give them the real. And for whatever reason, Alicia felt offended. So she wanted to give the real and be like, yeah, it's not happening like that at all. We don't try. Neither one of us is making an effort. It's cold as ice whenever we get together. Then they talk about Alicia being too vanilla. And I think at the beginning of the season, Alicia talked about this, how compared to Taya, she's probably just not as exciting. She's not as experimental. She's not as open minded as Taya is. So I think it's kind of obvious why Taya's bedroom is, on and popping whenever the guys are with her, when it's their turn with her, and things kind of mellow out to the point where probably nothing is happening in Alicia's bedroom because the quad thinks that she's just way too vanilla. So of course Alicia took offense to this and she was like, how can I be vanilla? Why would you label me as vanilla when I'm in a polyamory relationship? I'm with 3 other people. Why would I be vanilla? And Sean said, because they're in their confessional together, Sean said, well, you can be in a polyamory relationship and still be boring as hell. Okay, he didn't say boring as hell. I added that in, but he was like, you can be in a polyamory relationship and still be vanilla. Okay, so yeah. So we find out that Alicia's mom, she passed away, I guess, years prior from cancer. So her only living parent is her dad. So one of the main storylines for these people this season was Alicia trying to reconnect with her dad because her dad basically didn't want anything to do with this dynamic, this polyamory situation. And because he didn't support this, he was showing favoritism towards his own biological grandchildren and excluding the other children that are not biologically his grandkids, and also completely ignoring and excluding Taya and Sean. So her mom has passed away. Her dad's her only parent. She tells us a little bit about her mom. She says that her mom was like a real modern hippie, that her mom would have supported her decision to be in a polyamory relationship, that her mom would have been happy for her, and her mom would not have been as judgmental as her dad. Alicia's dad is not welcomed in their household, in the Quad's household, because he doesn't believe in polyamory. Alicia is very worried that if anything happened to her and Tyler, that her dad could possibly petition the court to get custody of her biological kids. So this is something that's been really bothering Alicia for like the majority of the season that we've been watching them. And Alicia's dad does not accept the kids that are not biologically Alicia's kids. So obviously she doesn't want her children to be separated. And, because of the fact that, he's her only living parent, I don't know what's going on if she has siblings or not. So she wants to make sure that there's something in place legally to protect her children from being separated. If anything would happen to her and Tyler, she doesn't want her children separated from their siblings, period. Moving on from there, Tay had a really rough night, right, with the baby. The baby was really fussy all night. Was waking up every hour on the hour. So the next day, she's like very exhausted. And the baby had a cold. And so they're talking about, what Taya went through the night before. And Sean gives her some very useless advice. He tells her, well, did you feed the baby upright? And Taya was like, what does that have to do with anything? I'm telling you that the baby had a cold. He was coughing, stuffy, whatever. And that's the reason why he was up all night. It had nothing to do with his feeding or how he was fed. And Sean is the kind of person where he thinks that he has the answer to everything. Sean is the kind of person who thinks that he's the smartest guy in the room. Point blank, period. He thinks that he knows it all. He thinks that he has an answer to everything. Taya calls him very solution based, like he's all about finding a solution to every problem. And I call him annoying. I think people like that are extremely annoying. Sometimes when somebody is going through something, like the way Taya was going through exhaustion and, feeling kind of down because of the lack of sleep, instead of him saying, well, you should have done this and you should have done that, he should have just been supportive and said, okay, I'll take the baby tonight so you can get rest, or why don't you go take a nap, get caught up on your sleep while we watch the baby, be supportive instead of being like, a finger pointer, like pointing his finger at her, like, well, you shouldn't have fed him like this. No, absolutely not. It is weird to me how men who have been in, more than one relationship, who have been through marriages and children, because, he's been married previously. He's got 5 kids, like 3 to 5 kids from his previous relationship. He's been through this. He's had newborns, but still he doesn't get it. When a mom is tired from a cranky baby, you don't need to blame her like she did something wrong. What she needs is support and understanding. So Alicia is in the kitchen while Taya and Sean are having this discussion about the baby being really fussy. So Alicia's in the kitchen and she's listening to this. So Alicia asked him a question because he has an upcoming appointment where he has to provide a sample of his semen to the clinic where he had his vasectomy so they can make sure that he doesn't have any active swimmers. So she asked him a question about that. Like, did you read all the information that you needed to drop off your sample? And he gave like a very snarky response. And she was like, well, I'm just asking, like, relax. I'm just asking. And he was like, well, I'm just telling you. You asked me a question, I answered it. That is so annoying when you ask somebody a question, they give you a very snarky response, and they're like, what's wrong with you? I answered your question. Yeah, but you gave me a lot of attitude with it. I didn't need that. If I want a steak, I want a steak. I don't want a steak with like a pile of salt on it. Yes, you gave me a steak, but you gave me something else I didn't want. So, yes, you gave her an answer, but you gave it to her in a really snarky way with a whole bunch of attitude. You were your usual smart aleck self. So Alicia gets emotional. She runs to the bedroom to go seek comfort in her husband Tyler. So he sees her all distressed and he's like, what's wrong? And she said, well, I don't understand what's wrong with him because I just asked Sean a question and he was like really rude to me. And, just because him and Taya are having issues, that's not a reason for him to be rude to me. And Alicia tells us in her confessional that when one couple is going through it, it kind of affects everybody else in the quad as well. And so, her husband tries to comfort her. And I'm just like, Alicia, girl, you know how this man is. Look, I've figured out Sean very, very quickly. A guy like Sean, he acts the way he does because he knows that he can get a reaction out of people. I would just ignore him. I would give him a taste of his own medicine and then I would just ignore him. I would not let this man affect me or let him see me get affected by it. I wouldn't do it. No, I wouldn't do it at all. So Alicia needs to learn. This is her boyfriend. She needs to figure him out. She needs to learn him and understand that when he acts like that, he just wants attention and he wants a reaction. And then give him his own medicine. Be just as snarky back or even more snarky or just ignore him and walk away. So they meet with a second attorney for a second opinion because they didn't like what the first attorney told them when it came to third party adoption. The first attorney had told them that a child cannot have more than 2 legal parents. So on the child's birth certificate, it can only be 2 parents. That's it. So no third party can come in and adopt the child while the other parents still are retaining their parental rights. Someone will have to terminate their rights in order for an adoption to take place, which none of them wanted to do. So Alicia, being as stubborn as she is, was like, no, there's got to be another way. So they go see a second attorney, and this second attorney is very much involved in, what do they call it? In non-traditional adoptions. She came from a non-traditional family, so she's always been interested in non-traditional families and how they operate. And so she specializes in adoption law, and she really has like a focus on non-traditional adoptions. So this attorney tells them that Oregon does have precedent with second parent adoption, where the second parent would adopt onto the bio parent's child without any termination of parental rights. So this president makes it seem like a child in Oregon can have three legal parents. And this is exactly what the quad was looking for. This is exactly what they wanted. So I guess if something happened to Alicia and Tyler, then either Sean or Taya could be, because they'd be the legal parents because they adopted the kids when everybody was alive. And then anything happens to the bio parents, then one of the step parents in the quad will have actual parental rights, and the custody of the children would, I guess, automatically go to them. So this is exactly what they're looking for. And this attorney said that, hey, let's give it a try. Let's give it a go. There's nothing, it's not going to hurt nothing to try. So that's what they're going to be thinking. So that's one of the cliffhangers that I'm thinking we should be seeing if they do get a second season. So they're all in, everybody's happy. And then Sean had the audacity to say, well, I'm glad Tyler agreed. Of course Tyler would agree. Tyler doesn't want his kids taken by his father-in-law. Of course Tyler would agree. Like, why wouldn't he agree? Sean, I guess, he has this thing where he thinks that Tyler wants to take all the kids. If they're all biologically his, he wants to take all the kids and run away into the mountains with them or something. I don't know. Moving on. So after putting the kids to bed, Alicia wants to talk to the quads about her trying to reconnect with her dad. Taya and Sean want Alicia's dad to first apologize. So before they accept Alicia's dad into their home and into their lives, they need him to apologize his for him excluding the children that were not biologically his, and also for him being very rude to Sean and Taya for just ignoring them. Like, he wouldn't invite them to family functions. He had sent the kids, his own biological kids. No. He sent all the kids something, and like gifts or something, Christmas gifts or something. And on the card for his biological grandkids, he signed it, love Pop Pop. And then on the card for the other kids, he signed it his name, his regular name, his first and last name or whatever. He didn't sign it Pop Pop. So this is the kind of behavior that Taya and Sean, and also Tyler and Alicia, they just don't tolerate that. And so they tell Alicia, all three of them tell Alicia, if you want to reconnect with your dad and you want us to include your dad back into our lives, he's going to have to take accountability. He's going to have to apologize. So Alicia starts crying again. Okay. She gets really emotional because she knows that her dad is not going to be about that life, about apologizing or taking accountability. And so she kind of was upset that the group was kind of like giving her this ultimatum, like either he apologizes or we're not going to let him in. And so that she said, like, that's forcing him to apologize. And I don't want to force my dad to. So they kind of go back and forth with that. But at the end of the day, she decides that she's going to have to just talk to her dad and let him know what the group is asking. Also has, let me see here. Okay. Taya and Sean want Alicia's dad to apologize because he's excluded them. Also has said that Taya and Sean were not invited to family holidays. Even Tyler, her own husband, agrees that Alicia's dad needs to take accountability and apologize. Alicia's really torn because she wants to try to repair her relationship with her dad, but the quad wants him to do this thing that she feels like is probably impossible for him to do. Alicia wants this, she wants to reconnect with her dad because her older kids were close to her dad. And she feels like, her kids are missing out on their relationship with their grandfather. So she wants to do this for her kids as well. This was a very contentious topic for the quad. And I enjoyed watching this, not because, it's not because of the pain that they were going through, but I enjoyed watching them deal with issues other than sex. So they were having like a regular family problem and trying to resolve a family problem. And it was interesting for me to watch how this very unique this unique relationship of four people, how they resolve issues, right? So I really enjoyed all of this drama with the dad and everything. I really did enjoy it. They all agree that Alicia should reach out to her dad. So they're cool with her reaching out. They're not going to prevent her from talking to her own dad. So they agree with her with that. They support her in doing that. But she has to let him know what the group is requiring him to do. Moving on. Sean and Taya. So it's the morning that Sean is supposed to drop off his semen sample to the clinic. And that morning, him and Taya had sex. And so um he I guess they were kind of worried, like, okay, what if he still had active swimmers? Was it okay for them to have sex or whatever? So they're kind of worried about that. So Sean was surprised. Sean was supposed to drop off his sperm sample to check to see if it was going to be sperm free, right? um so I think when they dropped it off at the clinic, he let them know, like, we had sex this morning. Was that okay? And I think the clinic had said that that was okay, that that was fine. They shouldn't have any issues. The real issue is, was she ovulating? Okay, that's the issue. If Taya wasn't ovulating, then I don't think they have a problem. But if she was ovulating, yeah, I don't think that was a really great idea. Taya's talking to her best friend, Lexi. Remember Lexi? This is her very best friend who lives 12 hours away. They have a lot in common. Like, they're both involved in polyamorous relationships. They both have 5 children, and they both just had a baby. So they have a lot in common. Also, there's like an attraction there between the two of them. But Taya really wasn't worried about this attraction because Lexi was so far away. Nothing could possibly come of it. So Lexi is supposed to be coming through Oregon. And so she's going to be stopping by to visit the quad. And Sean is okay with this. Sean understands that his wife, Taya, is pansexual. And so he understands that there are times when she does have an attraction to women. And I think even Taya told us at some point that when her and Sean began dating, they had discussed, like adding a third party or including a third party into the relationship, but it was just for, like, sexual reasons. And so Sean is cool with it. The fact that there's an attraction between her and Lexi, that she likes women, is attracted to him. Sean is all the way down with that. He's totally cool with it. Alicia brings up Taya. Moving on. Alicia brings up Taya and Sean. Um, who's it? Yeah, okay. So they're all together, and Alicia asked Taya and Sean, "Hey, was everything okay when you dropped off the sperm sample?" And Sean was like, "Yeah, everything went fine, but we did have sex that morning. So I had to ask the clinic, if that was okay that me and Taya had sex." Alicia automatically in her feelings. Automatically in her feelings. And she leaves. She walks away. Okay, she's one of those people. When it gets too much for her, she walks. Instead of staying there and trying to resolve the conflict, she runs away. So she leaves. So in her confessional, she tells us that since Taya and Sean had gotten over their bickering and were now good again because they had sex, it makes her overthink her own relationship with her and Sean. This made zero sense to me. So because of the fact that Taya and her husband Sean were kind of, had this disagreement about the baby and why the baby was being so fussy, and Sean was being a total jerk towards Taya about that. And because they moved past that and ended up making love after that, this bothered Alicia. And she was like, this makes me question my dynamic with Sean. And I was like, why? This is why, like, I don't understand how they work. The couples that are married, they're going to have a slightly different relationship than the couples that are just boyfriend and girlfriend. So Taya and Sean, their relationship is going to be a lot deeper, and I'm thinking a lot different than Sean's relationship with Alicia, his girlfriend. So if he shows any kind of favoritism, or if they get along better, their connection is deeper, the sex is better, like, they're married. They have a longer history than Sean and Alicia, who are boyfriend and girlfriend and they're dating. Like, I don't understand why Alicia gets so bothered by how close this husband and wife are. Like, I don't get that at all. I don't know. Her insecurities are deep. And this is the reason why I had said in my previous review that jealousy and poly doesn't really mix, because I'm thinking, this is my understanding of poly. Everybody's on an equal footing, and you know that your partner is going to be closer to someone else at some given point. The relationships are going to be tight, they're going to loosen up, they're going to get close again, they're going to drift apart again. It's just going to be constant up and down. And you know this. And I would think that because everybody's in this together, that you would want to see your partners get close and get along with your other partners. Alicia would want to see Sean and Taya kiss and make up and get along better and get close and be closer. She loves them and they love each other. And she should want their love to work without it making her feel insecure or uncomfortable. Like, that's what I don't understand, because I thought it was all one big love bubble, like one big happy family. We all love each other. We want all of us to win in these relationships. So Alicia should want to see Sean and Taya, his wife, get along. Like, wouldn't she want Sean and Taya to see her and Tyler be happy together? And the marriages are going to be slightly stronger than the non-marriage relationships. And that's expected. Like, you know that going in, hey, we're with this other couple. They've been married a while. We've been married a while. So we understand that the husbands and wives are going to have a deeper connection than the boyfriends and girlfriends. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't understand why poly would put people in a poly type of situation. Why would they be jealous? Like, if I'm in a poly, like, why would I be upset if my husband is spending more time with his girlfriend, who's like my sister wife or whatever, or my co-partner? I would want them to get along. Now, and my husband should know that, hey, I have a wife, I have a girlfriend, and so I need to spread my love equally. I can't just always be with my girlfriend and exclude my wife, or always with my wife and exclude my girlfriend. That you would know going in that y'all would try to make it as equal as possible. And in this situation, it seems like that they had that going on, where the men would switch every night with who they slept with. Um, but that, it seems like that doesn't help at all. Okay, moving on. So she didn't want to know, Alicia did not want to know that they had had sex that morning before dropping off the sample. She didn't want to know that. So she was like, these people are purposely violating my boundaries because I've told everybody I don't want to hear it. But it wasn't like they were giving salacious details. It was just, hey, this is an issue that we had. We were kind of concerned because, we did have sex before we got the okay from the doctor. So we don't want any more kids, but she could possibly get pregnant. And da, da, da. It was just like information that was given like in passing. It wasn't like, oh, and then we did this, and then she took off her clothes, and then I kissed her here, and she touched me there. It wasn't salacious. It wasn't detailed. It was just mentioned in passing because it was a concern. So there's like it was sort of like a medical concern, like a medical concern, the possibility of getting Taya pregnant again. So I don't know why Alicia was like, oh my God, they're talking about sex, and I told them not to do that. Girl, you need to calm the hell. You need to calm the hell down. I don't think that Alicia is built for this life. So because she walked away, Sean was like, uh-oh, I got negative Nancy upset. What am I going to do? So he has to go and check on her. And he was like, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I don't know. I'm not gonna say he did it on purpose, because I don't see he did anything wrong. Even if he did do it on purpose, even if he was testing her boundaries, she needs to grow the hell up. You're in a poly relationship, sister. This is not like a regular girl. You need to toughen up, get some thick skin, and loosen up those boundaries just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. Okay, look, I don't want to hear the details of what y'all do, but yes, you can mention in passing that y'all had sex because y'all were concerned about, if it was okay to do that, however many weeks or days or whatever since the vasectomy. Loosen up a little bit, Alicia. Like, kind of go with the flow sometimes. So he goes in there, he apologizes. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And Alicia questions. Alicia feels like no one respects her boundaries, which they do because they don't talk about certain things around her. And Alicia questions if she's not good enough or if she's not as desirable. So when she said that in her confessional, like she wonders, and this is right after the whole, them having sex in the morning thing. When she said that, like, oh, I wonder if I'm desirable enough. I wonder if I'm good enough for Sean. That made me think that there's nothing going on in the intimacy department with Sean and Alicia. There's nothing happening there. Nothing. It's dry as a Sahara Desert. Okay, there's nothing going on there, and she feels. And Alicia, I've learned. I'm putting my pieces together with her. I'm trying to figure it out, and I think Alicia's the kind of person where she doesn't feel comfortable initiating sex, and Sean is the kind of guy where he probably just, because of the fact that she's so sensitive and he doesn't know what to say or do around her, he probably just doesn't even make the first move on her. Like if she were to make the first move, he'd be down. But because, she's been crying all damn day, now they go to bed together. He's like, well, I don't know what's going on with her. I don't know what kind of mood she's in. She cried to the drop of a dime. We talk about this, she cried. Talk about that, she starts crying. So he's probably like, I'm gonna just leave her alone. And so now she feels unwanted and neglected. I think that's what's going on. I think that's what's happening. I don't think there's a lot of sexual activity going on between Sean and Alicia. And dare I say, maybe not a lot going on between Alicia and her own husband, Tyler. Moving on. Taya meets with her mom. This scene pissed me off, y'all. Taya meets, not Taya. Yeah, Taya. Taya meets with her mother. Remember, her mother is down with the quad. She supports the quad. She has no issues with her daughter being in this polyamorous relationship. So Taya gets her mom caught up on the whole blood type fiasco. So she tells her mom, we know who the father of baby Quentin is. And her mom is like, y'all did a DNA test? And Taya says, no, but we know baby Quentin's blood type, which is O, and Tyler is also blood type O. So he must be the father. And Taya's mom, who is a nurse, or at the very least, she went to nursing school, was like, I don't really remember when we talked about blood types in nursing school, but I don't think that's how it goes. That you can determine who the father is by blood type. She goes, O is a universal blood type. So she was like, I don't know. I don't think that's how it goes. And so the mom gets her phone and she does this like absolutely remarkable, amazing, unheard of thing. She Googled it. And it came up saying that no, blood type does not determine paternity. You can have two B positive, B negative, whatever parents who can have an O type baby. Two B type parents can have an O type baby. And Taya was like, how did you do that? What did you type in? And she said, I just typed in, can two B parents have an O type baby? And she showed it to her. And Taylor was like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? I just went with whatever Sean told us because Sean was the one that very authoritatively, he, like what they say, what the kids say nowadays, he was loud and wrong when he came up and he said, hey, I'm not the father because I'm B and the baby's O and Tyler's O, so Tyler's a dad. So no one else in the quad thought about double checking this, looking it up for themselves to contradict or just to check what Sean was saying. No one thought of that. He just came out and said it and they went with it. He could come out and say that the earth is flat and they're not going to double check. He can come out and say, oh, the sky is neon purple. And they're going to just believe it. They're just, whatever he says, they're going to go with it. And I'm just like, what is going on here? So the mom tells her, okay, this is the facts. And so they didn't, and this is also even more embarrassing, is that if they didn't want to Google it, you would have thought that Taya would have told her mom about it or asked her mom about it earlier to avoid all of this nonsense. It caused unnecessary tension. The two men were going at it against each other, feeling some kind of way towards one another because one thought that the other was the father of baby Quentin. And I'm like, okay, Taya, your mom's a nurse. You didn't want to Google, fine. But your mom's a damn nurse. Moving on. So Lex and Chris have arrived. Chris is Lex's husband. They tell us they've been polyamorous for 5 years. They've only been in a throuple, not in a quad or anything like that. And the throuple didn't work out because the third party, this is according to Lex, the third party was more interested in her husband Chris than they were in her. So I guess at the present time, they're not in a throuple. They come there with all their kids, all five of their children. And Taya wonders how the quad would feel if, she actually pursued something with Lex. After that, the quad goes out for ice cream without the kids, and Taya decides that this is a good time to tell the quad what her mom told her about blood types and paternity. So Taya tells them that Tyler may not be Quentin's bio dad because blood type does not determine paternity. And her mom, she says, this is what she said. She goes, me and my mom did some research. Yeah, y'all Googled it. Y'all Googled it. So the producer asked Sean, how did he, like the producers asked Sean, how did you get that wrong? If anybody can figure it out on their phone, how did you get that wrong? And he goes, well, I must have put in the wrong information. The producers asked Tyler if he's disappointed. They asked Tyler if he's disappointed that Quentin may not be his. And of course, he is disappointed in that. Alicia tells Sean, okay, here comes Alicia. Alicia says to Sean in their own confessional, she says, well, if you would have just asked me before you sent that text to Tay, because remember, when Sean figured out that he could not be Quentin's baby because of this whole blood type situation, he reached out to his wife Taya and he was like, I'm not the baby's daddy, I'm not Quentin's daddy because of the blood type, and how dare Tyler talk about his blood type when we swore that we would, all this stuff, right? So Alicia tells Sean, when you sent that text to Taya, before you sent it, why didn't you just consult with me what your conclusion was? And I would have talked you off the ledge and I would have done my research, and you would have known better and we wouldn't have gone through what we went through. But regardless of whether but Alicia, you still could have done your research even after the fact. Okay, just because he didn't consult with you before he sent the text, it doesn't mean that your common sense flew out the window. You still could have done your own research after he sent the text or after you found out what everybody was so tensed up about. Whew, child. There's still tension between Alicia and Sean, because they've been kind of distant with one another. Like I said, their bedroom is not on, it's not popping at all, and nothing going on between them. And so there's still a lot of tension. And a lot of this tension comes from, Sean being very matter of fact with how they should deal with her dad. And also, she feels like Sean is disrespecting her boundaries by talking about sex. So she wants his support, not his advice. So she tells him they have an opportunity to talk, just the two of them. And she lets him know how she's been feeling. And she's like, hey, when I come to you with my issues, I really don't want a lecture from you. I just want you to be supportive. So they haven't been intimate in a while. So Alicia just assumed that there's something, that she's doing something wrong. Um, yeah, maybe being very closed off, maybe having, all of these walls up, these boundaries, all of these directives of what people can and cannot do around you. Like the other three, they can just, jaw jack about anything, about whatever. They're very relaxed with one another. Alicia comes into the room and it's like everybody like stiffens up a little bit. It's like, okay, what do we do and not do around her? What do we say and not say around her? And I can imagine that affecting their sex life as well. So she feels like she must be doing something wrong. She asked him if he deliberately did not tell her about the blood type situation. Like, did he deliberately make a conscious decision? Like, I'm not going to share this with Alicia. I'm only going to share this with Taya. And he was like, no, I did not do this on purpose. I didn't withhold information from you on purpose. It was just natural for me to reach out to my wife, to Taya. Sean feels like he can't open up with Alicia because she's so damn sensitive. He doesn't know what to do or say around her. And Alicia tells him that she feels very distant. And so then Sean says, well, do you want to work on this or not? In his very matter of fact, dry way. He's like, so do you want to fix this or not? And of course, she wants to fix it. So she suggests that they have another date night. Alicia finally calls her dad, and the dad declined having their conversation filmed. It was on the phone. It wasn't FaceTime. I don't know if it was FaceTime or not, but he wasn't like there presently. But even though it was just a phone call, he did not want their phone conversation recorded for the show. And basically, she tells the quad that her dad was not open at all to apologizing about a damn thing. Her dad seems like your typical old man, where it's like, hey, you ain't gonna make me do a damn thing. If I want to see my grandkids, I want to see my grandkids, and I ain't gonna have to kiss nobody's butt. I don't gotta apologize. I don't gotta say nothing to nobody. I don't gotta accept a damn thing. Either you let me see my grandkids or you don't. Alicia tells the quad that her father was very defensive right off the bat, and he wasn't going to bend. He wasn't going to give in at all. So that's over with. That's done and over with. Taya and Lex, they go out together, just the two of them. She brings up the conversation first about how they feel about one another. So Lex is like, hey girl, we've been close. We have a lot in common. I've been feeling you. You feeling me? What's up? And initially, Taya doesn't want to admit to Lex her feelings, because admitting to Lex how she really feels about her kind of makes it real, which means that she has to bring it to the quad. She has to let them know what's going on, and that, she probably wants to pursue this thing with Lex. So she does have the same feelings. She does have the same attraction for Lex. And so the feelings are very mutual. Sean and Alicia go and see an intimacy specialist. Alicia feels like Sean is more willing to be intimate with Taya than with her. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. I can see that. I can totally believe that, because Taya is more free. She's more easygoing. She's more easygoing. She doesn't have rules and regulations and read my handbook before you enter the room with me or anything like that. So yeah, of course, it's a lot more fun in Taya's bedroom than it is in Alicia's. So Alicia, okay, so they go see the specialist, and they sit down with the specialist, like on the floor and everything, and they're talking about whatever. And the specialist is asking some very intimate questions, like, where do you like to be touched? Or how do you like for him to initiate sex? And she's like, and she doesn't really say much. She doesn't even answer the questions, because she's uncomfortable. She's that uncomfortable that even though it was her idea to go see an intimacy specialist, it was her damn idea, she can't even like cooperate, because it's so uncomfortable for her. And I'm like, girl, maybe you need some one-on-one therapy to figure out why you as a grown woman don't want to talk about sex with your sexual partners, and why are you so timid around this topic. You're supposed to be banging two men, and you're very uncomfortable with the topic of sex being brought up, when it's not with your husband. I'm assuming her and Tyler talk about it. But she doesn't feel comfortable talking about it with her other intimate partners. Not that her and Tay are doing anything, but you know what I mean. So the expert tells them to get in I think she called it the yum yum position. And so they touch each other, they gaze into each other's eyes. Alicia says that staring into Sean's eyes make her feel wanted and desired and beautiful. And it was really productive for both of them. Even Sean took a lot out of this session, so it went really well for both of them. Maybe that's what Alicia needs. I don't know, but then again, she has to communicate that with her partner. If she needs more foreplay, or if she needs for the sex to begin before the actual sex, she needs that like when you're flirting with each other all day long, or he's saying things and doing things for you to make you want to desire him throughout the day, so that at night you're ready. Maybe that's what she needs, but she needs to communicate that. I don't know what her problem is. Moving on. So the quad is back together again, They're all together again in the living room. Taya thinks this is the right time for them to talk about her and Lex, to bring up her and Lex, not the fact that they want to pursue something. So she tells them that her and Lex have mutual romantic connection. And Alicia, let me get my pen out because I don't want to misquote anybody. Alicia says, so you do want to pursue something with her. And Taya says, well, I would, but I know that that's not allowed because this is a closed quad. We don't deal with other people romantically. So then Tyler says, well, did you want to change that? Is that what you're trying to say? You want to change that? And Taya admits that she does want to explore her feelings with Lex. And Sean is cool with it. Sean's down. Okay. He's like, I know my wife. I know how she gets down, and I'm A-okay with it. And even though Taya dating Lex wouldn't affect Alicia because Alicia and Taya don't have anything sexual going on between them, it does affect Alicia directly because it affects the quad. So Tyler says if the quad is going to open up for Taya, then it needs to open up for all of us. She wants to get down with somebody else, then we should all have the same opportunity. And so then Alicia looks at her husband, Tyler, and says, well, that doesn't make any sense because the three of us, you, me, and Sean, we're all, straight. So we're getting everything fulfilled within this quad. Whereas Taya is not. So it's understandable that she would seek something outside of this dynamic. We're straight, we're heterosexual, she's pansexual, so she's not getting her full fulfillment within the quad. So because of her sexuality, it's understandable that she would seek something elsewhere. And then Tyler says, well, that's not fair. Just because she's pansexual, she gets special treatment. And just because we're straight, we don't. We're restricted. We have limitations, and she can do whatever she wants because she's pan, and I'm straight. I'm restricted to what's in the quad. And then Alicia was like, yeah, because you're getting everything you need within this quad. And so he's like, that's not fair. He's like, I'm not really trying to be with anybody else, but if we're going to open up the quad, we need to open up that door wide open for all four of us to walk right through it. And so Alicia thinks that what Tyler is saying doesn't make any sense because she's like, I had an organic connection with Lex. It wasn't like I was seeking somebody else. We became friends. And then from that friendship, something romantic bloomed. So Tyler, what he's talking about is like getting on Backpage or getting on Tinder or whatever, looking for somebody else. And it's not that. Me and Lex was natural, organic. We weren't looking for this. It just happened. Tyler's talking about actually looking for somebody else. So Alicia thinks that opening up the quad is going to destroy everything that they've built. I don't know about that, but I was kind of like on Tyler's side. Tyler was so hyped about this topic. He was so excited about talking about this. He was like, oh, are we opening up the quad? Is that what you're saying? Tay, you want to open up the quad? Or can we open up? Are we going to open up the quad for everybody? I was like, Tyler, this has been on your mind, and you can't hide that. Tyler, don't even front. This has been on your mind. And I think that Alicia and Tyler, I feel like because they're in this unusual dynamic, he feels like, probably as a man, he's like, my wife is letting me sleep with another woman and she's cool with that, then she shouldn't have any problem if I want to go sleep with Susie, Emily, Tiffany, Shaquita, Rosalita. She shouldn't have no problem with any of that. So that's where it all ended. That's where the finale ended. And that was like the biggest cliffhanger of all. Are they going to open up the quad for everybody? Are they going to crack the door slightly open just for Taya? Or are they going to keep it closed and shut and sealed where nobody can do anything with anybody else? This was probably one of the best 2 episodes I've ever seen. I was so engrossed in this finale. The second episode, episode 6, when all this, opening up the quad thing came up, I was like, the time just flew by. That hour just flew by. And I was a little bit upset that we weren't going to get a resolution because I want to know, are y'all opening it? Are you keeping it closed or what? But hopefully they get a season 2. We know that TLC is obsessed with these type of non-traditional relationships. So unless they got anything else coming around, I really hope that we get a season 2 with PolyFamily with the same exact people. I need to know, what are we doing with this quad? Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.